Hi friends, it's Marie at LivingFelt, and we are back with a darling little project, needle felting our polar friends. The polar friends are three cute little buddies who like to hang out together in the snow. We have a snow hare, a harp seal, and a polar bear. This project is a pickup off our Sweet and Simple Fox, which you might remember our fairy Katie came up with some sweet forest friends we shared with you last year. We love this project because it is so simple. It's very beginner friendly. If you're helping someone get started, this would be a great project to share with them or gift to them. We do have a kit for it, and we'll be making all three of these critters using the exact same materials. We're just going to change a few shapes and where we put them to create the different characters. This is great if you're wanting to practice getting your shapes firm and to get them smooth, and you want to make sure that your little attached parts stay well attached. This would make a great gift, maybe in the form of a baby mobile, in the form of small ornaments, or just as little treasures for someone who has a sweet spot for cute little beings. Let's have a quick look at the supplies you'll need for this project, and there is a link down below that will also take you to the landing page where you can find the kit as well. We'll be using our wow mat. This is a 12 by 12. If you're worried about banging into your table, then just use two. Sometimes I put a smaller one on top of a larger one. This is my white Wowee topper. I use this to keep colored fibers out of my white wool. So if you have colored wool in your mat already and it's not cleaned out, a topper will help you isolate the white fibers together. You don't have to have it. We'll be using a wood skewer or apple stick. I'm going to bring in my LivingFelt tweezers for this, a few felting needles, fine 40, fine 42, and a cluster of 42, and then some straight pins. I also have a couple of white straight pins here. You can use straight pins that are colored or white to gauge eye placement. So that's just an option. For fiber, we're going to be using our core wool. This is CW1 and cotton white. They look very close together because our core wool is very clean. You can also use the CX2 white, but I chose cotton white for this project and kit. For dyed fiber, all of these right here, this is a powder pink, a slate gray, and black onyx. Just a little bit because these are tiny critters. To get started, you're going to want to make the cone-shaped underbody for each of the figures that you'll be needle felting. If you don't know how to do that, or you haven't seen our method for doing it on a skewer or an apple stick, check out this video up in the links above, and we'll also link to it down below. It's pretty quick, and it's going to give you a fast method for building the undershape. To make our shapes, we are going to use the same method that we used for our Simple Fox and Simple Forest friends. So divide your core wool into 3 pieces, grab your apple skewer, and watch this little clip to show you how to make your dome shapes. Here are the 3 little shapes I needle felted for this project, and we are going to cover it in our cotton white fiber. This is very simple because we're going to cover it 100% in the wool. You can divide your fiber however you like. You can divide the width or the thickness or both. Sometimes it's easier to divide your fiber by folding it in half and then tearing it along the grain. This is our MC1 cotton white, so it's very easy to do. And now we'll just cover each one in white. Get as much fiber as you need, pull off the balance, and then needle felt it as if you would be smoothing out shelf paper, starting on one edge and working your way around to the other. If you have little bits of vegetable matter like this, you can either pick them out with your fingers, or if they're buried under there, then use your tweezers to dig them out, but only worry about it on the outer surface layers. If they're underneath, it just doesn't matter. That's just vegetable matter from sheeps doing sheepy stuff. Often it's just hay and grass. Get everything basically tacked down so it's staying in place, and then you can fold the excess over the top and bottom edges. If you have too much, just tear it off. I'd like to needle felt everything basically to a draft stage and then go back and continue needle felting until everything is laying down nice and smooth. Up here, I have a little too much, so you can just pull off any excess like that and then needle felt it down. For any of these little critters, a muzzle or a little mound for the muzzle, the nose and mouth area is totally optional. If you want to make one, take a tiny pinch of wool, roll it into a loose ball, and start to needle felt it just to build up a little bit of density. And then fluff it out and spread it out on the face where you want it. Mine is about just at the end of the top third. And then just needle felt it until it's firm, and make sure you blend all of those bottom fibers out so they go smooth onto the face. And this will work on any of the 3 critters in this kit, or you can just leave them flat and they'll be just as cute. I colored my 2 white pins black with a Sharpie. I like to use these for eye placement holders because they're pointy, unlike our glass eyes, which are, only as pointy as you cut the point. So keep a couple of these when you're making small critters, and you can take time to decide where your eyes go. We have our little muzzle mound, just a tiny one, and now I can use these to kind of decide where I want the eyes to go. Do I want them to be spaced far apart or close together? Sometimes I like them to sit like right on top of the muzzle, and you can move them here, so no worries there. Let's take a tiny pinch and make our nose and just a little cute line down to our mouth. We're going to give our polar bear a kind of an ovally round nose. I like to just put a blob in the middle, poke a little bit, and then twirl the fiber to get my shape. To give our polar bear rosy cheeks, we are going to put just a tiny pinch of this soft pink. It's called powder pink, and it doesn't take very much. So just needle felt a thin little circle right to the side of the muzzle or wherever you think it looks cute. We're going to give this little face a little bit of character by putting a blend of gray and white fiber underneath the eye. So we'll remove our eye pin placeholder and put a little gray down there. Then a tiny drop of our black fiber, swirling it around to make a cute circle. If that gray underneath the eye or to the back of the eye looks too harsh, you can just tack a light ghost layer of white right over the top and marvel at how that helps blend everything together. Lastly, we'll put a tiny dot of white to add a glint of light in the eye. You could use glass eyes for this project, but we've chosen wool, and our 4mm glass eyes would be perfect for this little guy if you choose to get those. Once you have that eye all dialed in, repeat on the other side. For the polar bear ears, pull off 2 small tufts of wool of equal size, fold them in half, And use something like your finger or a small shape. I used my pinky to create what will be like the ear bed or the ear cup. Needle felt around the perimeter of that, and then remove the shape or your finger and needle felt that inner area flat. Peel the wool off the mat, turn it over, and repeat. If you have too much wool on the edge, on the sides, then just tear a little bit off. But you do want enough fiber to fold back in on itself. Using too little wool is the risk because then you don't have fiber for the fiber to entangle with. So always use a little more wool, almost twice as much as you think you need for the final shape. Then we'll needle felt into the sides and all around the edges, always making very shallow pokes so that we're just needle felting the fiber to the fiber and not to the mat. Use the straight pins that we showed in the supplies to get your ear placement. These help just hold a temporary place while you decide where exactly you want the ear for your critter, and then needle felt them down, always smoothing the wool out so you don't create any obvious lines, and tear off any excess that you don't need, especially on the front. Needle felt through the shape into the head until everything is attached. If you would like to give your bear a little nubby tail, we just needle felted a very small tube first by rolling the fiber into a little tube and then needle felting it lightly. We put it on the back of the bear such that we're going to tack the top edge of the tube into the back, fold the shape down, and then needle felt the bottom edge in as well. This way it's anchored at top and bottom, and then you can needle felt it flush to the back just so it gives the suggestion of a little nubby tail. I love this polar bear, and I fell in love with the design that our fairy Katie came up with. So we tried to follow him as best we could, but we look forward to seeing what your polar bears look like as well. The face of Bunny will be very similar to polar bear. We started with a soft mound, and then we formed the nose out of our powder pink fiber, first putting a blob down and then using our felting needle to shape it into a triangle. This is a gentle process, just little shallow pokes guiding each fiber as you go. And once you finish, you can trim it in a color if you desire to give it just a little more of an accent. We used our gray that's included in the kit to outline the nose and form a little line going down towards the mouth. We'll also give him little rosy cheeks. We just put a couple of drops of this powder pink in place and needle felt it with our fine felting needles so that it just lays right on the surface. For the eyes on this critter, we chose to use only the black wool and no accent color around the eyes. You can add a little glint of white in the eyes if you like. You can see that if you add the eye glint in the same place, it kind of makes him look a little bit cross-eyed. So if you move that to the outside, it'll be like the light is hitting the eyes from over here. But if you like the cross-eyed look, you of course can leave it there. To create the ears for our rabbit, pull off 2 longer lengths of fiber and fold them in half again. And this time for our shape, we're going to use the end of our LivingFelt twist tweezers. I like this shape, and it's just going to be about maybe 1.5 inches long. Your ears can be as long as you want. So just like in the prior, we're going to use the perimeter as a guide. And then once that shape is kind of flattened in there, we'll needle felt the middle. Turn it over and repeat. And fold the edges towards the middle and needle felt your ears into shape. If you have too much fiber, there's excess fiber, tear it off, but you do want a little more fiber than you think you need so that you can build these dense, strong little ears that will stand up. We added a little dab of pink to the inside of our ears, and if you do that, just make sure to not go too low since we're going to use this front little bit of wool for attaching to the head. You can again use your pins, your straight pins, to check the placement and decide whether you want your ears to just go straight up or whether you would like them to form a little V at the head. You decide how you want them to go. For the face of our harp seal, we start with a little triangular nose in black. Again, just drop a blob and form it into the shape. On either side of the bottom of the triangle of that nose, we're going to put a little tuft of the white and gray mixture to sort of suggest the area where the whiskers might be, just that little part of the muzzle. Make it nice and thin and fluff it out with your needle so that you like how the color tapers out. If you don't love it, rip it off, put a little extra gray or a little extra white, whatever suits your aesthetic. I went a little off script on the mouth here, and rather than just doing the straight line down, I chose to put a little bit of a mouth and trace along the underside of that little muzzle mound that we made. So it looks like he's kind of got an open mouth and a bit of a smile by putting little tiny thin lines of black underneath there. For the eyes on the harp seal, they're a little more of an almond shape, the eyelids together, and they kind of go at an angle, like towards the forehead and down towards what would be the flippers. So consider that as a shape, making the eyes just a little more oval shaped and angled so that the tops are closer together and the bottoms of the eyes are farther apart. For the flippers of our harp seal, we're going to make 2 different sizes. The rear ones will be larger. So again, pull off 2 tufts of wool about like this that are similar in size, fold them in half, and begin needle felting them just like we've done for the ears. That is, needle felting shallow pokes on both sides to form some density. and then turn them back to the top side and fold the side edges in, and we'll use that to build up the thickness and make them nice and firm. I'm needle felting mine to give them a bit of an arch. Now really the toes, or whatever they're called, are probably longer out the middle, but I want to make mine look like the flipper is up off the ground, like cupped, and I seem to feel like that little arch looks cute. So we're going to make those pairs, and then we'll make the front ones as well. Make the front ones a little bit smaller, and they are going to be a little more like the hands, if you will. So they'll be a little bit shorter and a little more narrow, but again, you're just making them both at the same time. Just a quick look here. If you want to give them sort of like fingers, and you can do that on, the rear flippers or the front flippers if you want. Once you get everything all nice, needled and firm, then you can go right into the end and just begin needle felting indents. And I know they probably have 5 or 6 or whatever, but this is a playful little cartoon critter, so you can just add as many as will fit. And if you want, you could put some gray in those lines as well, or you could just leave them white, whatever works for you. Once you have your flippers ready, you can again use your straight pins if you want to choose the placement. I'm just going to put mine on my Harp Seal so that they kind of point down here like little arms. And you'll notice that we have a lot of density here, not density, but just like a lot of bulk, because it took a lot for us to get this really nicely formed and thick little flipper. So you can just pull that out from the inside to thin it out a little bit before putting it on. So you don't have to attach all of the bulk just because you needed it to make the flipper. When you're joining two pieces, remember to go sort of in the direction that you want the wool to taper and blend. If you go this way, you're more likely to create a line. If you do have lines, don't worry, just patch over them with a little thin layer of that same color, and you can hide them all pretty well. And now right in here, I want to attach it a little bit just by going straight in. Repeat on the second side. Our Harp Seal could be complete with just these little front flippers and his cute little mug, but let's put these rear ones on that we made and see how we like them. Removing bulk from the middle, but we want to be able to have something to attach it with. They kind of join in the middle, so that's the idea of what they will look like. And we want them to stand, so make sure that as you're attaching this part under here, that it's as flush as possible so that the flippers will actually be on the table. So we'll make sure we push those off and needle felt the bottom part first. When you have little critters like this, it's easy for the bottom to kind of curve out. If you can get it to curve under by using a more aggressive needle, they're more likely to stand. So if the inside is just a little bit lower than the perimeter, it'll be easier for them to stand. So try not to make it too bulky is the moral of the story. These are the 3 critters that we've made with you, and really we've kind of banged them out here in the studio today. So what we're going to do next is go over them with our fine felting needles. If they're feeling a little fuzzy, the fibers are a little loose, and you're using fibers from our kit, you're going to want to go over them with your fine 42 triangle needle shallow pokes, and also go over them with your little cluster of 42 felting needles, shallow, shallow, shallow little pokes methodically across the surface to get everything laying down. If you have any little rogue fibers, like maybe there's a black fiber coming out that's just too long and you can't tame it, use your fiber shears or whatever fine scissors you have. We have these in the shop and we also have them in our kit, and you can trim off anything that you just can't tame. But before you cut, poke with your fine felting needles, and we're going to do that and get all of ours smooth and ready for display. I spent a little time cleaning my guys up, and by that I mean just going over them with a 42 triangle single needle and a cluster, getting them all nice and smooth. When you're trying to get rid of needle marks, remember that really what you're seeing is some of the wool compressed and some of it bubbled up. So the best thing to do is to poke all the bubbled up parts down, and if you use a fine needle, you can get a nice, smooth, even compression. So I hope you had fun with this project. I know I sure did, and I'm sure that I'll be making more of at least one of these guys in another way. We hope that you'll share yours in our Facebook group, and if you enjoyed this tutorial, please leave us a comment down below and let us know your favorite takeaway or how you'll use this tutorial to create your own critters. Until next time, take good care of yourself, make sure to have fun with your art, and we'll see you on the next video.